Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody? I am just getting all the settings done here. So what are y'all doing tonight? Whoa, so many of you tonight. How y'all doing today? What's going on? We've got our music rolling. I still need like a massage. That's what I need. I need to go find me a massage therapist. Whether it's legit or happy ending, I'm at that point where it doesn't really matter. Brian, what's going on, Brian? How are you doing tonight? What's everybody smoking tonight? What do you got going on? Anything interesting? I'm just kind of here, broadcasting to you live. So we're here again. Tonight we're doing the Dapper La Madrina Toro. And then we're also going to be doing the Agent 99 coffee. So that's what's happening. It's, what is it? It's this February 17th. What's going on? How was your Valentine's Day? Mine was pretty exciting. Like, got to hang out and do my thing and have a cigar. It was good times. Like people always talk about and a lot of people lament that I'm so lonely at Valentine's Day. I'm never lonely on Valentine's Day, right? Whether I have a date or not. But more importantly, the best thing about it is that, people are like, oh, I'm so alone. But you know what? Can you imagine what it must be like to be stuck with someone on Valentine's Day that you really don't like, that you really don't want to be with? That's much worse. So I'm very happy to say that I don't have that problem. All right. So today we're going to be doing some coffee and nice. We're going to be doing some coffee and cigars just as always. So we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go right into it with the coffee. Today's coffee is a new coffee that we're working with. It's a coffee that where is it? We're using this device. We're using this brewer. Oh, Pam, what's going on, Pam? How are you doing tonight? How are the boys doing? They're making your house smell. And then Rusty doesn't have that problem. Well, Rusty, he's got a fantastic woman. And then Tony's out there with the Black Label Private Reserve Corona Gorda and the surprise, the Diet Cherry Pepsi. Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, I get it. Pam, how's the new job treating you this week? I heard you were starting a new job, so hope that's going well. All right, so this is the Yama pour over glass brewer, and this is like a fancy brewing device that's made by Yama. Yama's a company in Taiwan that makes brewing devices, and this one is like the super fancy one. It's really just a pour over brewer, but just looks fancy and costs a bit more. So it costs quite a bit more. But unlike other brewers, they give you, it's all glass, metal, brass-ish valve, and this glass and a stand. So they give you a lot more than like your typical pour over. So let's say you'll do the pour over and it's what, $60, $40 to $60. This is probably about $120. So, oh, the boys are there too. Excellent. So, oh, and Pam loves the new job. Oops. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. With Terra chips. All right. Fantastic. Terra chips are good. I haven't had them in a while. Except when you get the one that's like the, is it the yam one? No, not the yam. The Terra one. There's something about that Terra, the one that has the little like purple strings in it, that has this weird like textural thing for me. When I bite into it, there's something like a little bit of resistance that I'm like, that's a little bit strange. But I think that's fine. Immediately thought Yama Sutra. Oh, Yama Sutra. That's a good one. I have to remember. You have to get the whole, like, kind of. This is the kind of thing you do with your girlfriend, right? You brew and then. And maybe if she's like Indian, you can have the full experience. Oh, responsible for playing the Terra chips. Excellent. Yes, the Taro is a good one. The Taro. I like Taro, like especially when you pound it into poi. That's an interesting way to have the Taro. I kind of dig it. All right, so basically, what this is all about, it's kind of full immersion brewing, right? So there's a valve that you close. This is a valve. It's closed, and then you have the the conical filter, which is this stainless steel mesh. It's not, of course, it's not as fine as a paper filter. So there is some minor sediments that come out of it, but it works pretty well. And then it's like many of the different immersion brewers. You immerse it, you close the valve and you let it sit for 3 minutes, and then you open it and you let it flow. Or you can leave it open and just pour over it just like anything else with it. But don't be too jealous. Don't be too jealous. Yeah, you better get the Kalita back. He's going to get upset. He's going to get upset. Don't want him to get too upset. All right, so we're going to take that. We're going to take our 24 grams of coarsely ground coffee because we are going to use the full immersion. So we coarse ground it to retard the extraction of the coffee. So the finer you grind it, the faster the extraction, right? The coarser you grind it, the slower it extracts out. Basically, it's kind of like if you think about taking a whole bean and putting it in here, you could extract the flavor out of it, but it takes a very long time. So the more you break it down, the easier it comes out. All right, let's put that in here. Maybe they like her more than you, bud. Maybe that could be. And Rusty says, "Congrats, Pam. What's the new job?" Actually, I don't even know what the new job is. All right, so I put it in here. You can see it's kind of like it's kind of. Well, let me get the light. It's kind of towards the bottom, right? Yeah, there it is. So now we're going to add the water. Now, a lot of the guys who in specialty coffee that use this, they'll actually put the whole apparatus on a scale to like precisely weigh that out. We don't need that. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour it and saturate the coffee, but just pour a little because we're going to allow it to bloom. This coffee I roasted yesterday, so whoa. All right, there it is, the first wetting. So actually, interesting. Like I can see here, there's like a cascading effect. I don't know if you can see it here. Let's see if we can see it. Can we see it here? You can kind of see these striations right in here. So there's a little bit of like, well, there was a moment of the really, really fine particulates cascading down into the bottom. So Pam says the new job is supply chain manager doing production planning and finished goods inventory management at Haynes Celestial. Oh, you literally are working for, okay, Terra Chips, excellent. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Nate said that he seen me smiles more in the past 3 weeks. Oh, fantastic. That's great. That's really great. I know that I was the one that kind of encouraged you to get your last job and you kind of hated that. So sorry. My apologies. I was hoping that would be a really great thing for you to join into. Unfortunately, it wasn't. All right, so we're going to add this. We're really waiting 3 minutes. So there we go. And as I pour this, I'm pouring it so that it pushes down on the coffee that's floating. Like I said, I roasted this yesterday, so it's very fresh, meaning that there's going to be a lot of CO2 being emanating from the coffee that's going to cause the ground coffee to float, especially during the initial pour. So the fresher your coffee, the more you have to worry about it. And then I'm using the stream when I filled it to break down that floating coffee crust and make sure that they all get reincorporated into the water and saturated so that they can also impart their flavor to the liquid, right? So if you're only getting, if you have like, let's say 30% of your coffee floating out of the water, then you're only getting 60% of your extraction. So better to let it to fall down and, Yeah, I know. Totally hated it. I thought it would work out. I thought it'd be a good position. But now you know that there's something better out there. Oh, Mr. Rob, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Glad to have you. Glad to see you, man. You look at mad scientist from Steam. It's the steampunk part is really because of the goggles, the furry headsets. By the way, have you seen these these earmuff. They're not earmuffs. What are they called? They're called something koozies. Something, earmuff koozies, ear koozies, something like that. They have them at like True and Location Sound and all that. So all right, so we're waiting. How long are we waiting? Okay, so maybe another few moments. Now you know, man. Now you know. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, go back to Bud. Okay, back to Bud. Back to Bud. Yeah, Rob. Don't worry. You don't have to put the @ because we don't have that much discussion normally. So I tend to be able to see them as they roll up. But I appreciate that. You make me feel like the big YouTubers. But it was good to see you on the C47 yesterday. That's I don't know if that's what I meant to ask you yesterday. Are you joining the C47 camera challenge? I've been shooting with it, and yeah. So there's a site called the C47 for all the rest of you it's just a bunch of guys that talk cameras and stuff on YouTube. They have a live stream every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And so they have this fascination with film cameras. And so they started this black and white film challenge. And so basically it's shooting black and white film that you must compose solely in the frame. So full frame resolution. So if whatever composition you're doing in the frame on black and white film, and you're doing one daylight, one low light shot or submission, and what is it? What are the other criteria that I'm missing? Yeah, that was essentially it. There's no artificial lighting, no setups, just whatever you want to shoot. So yes, but not by size. Girth does not count. And yeah, these are actually quite comfy. Actually, I got them on this particular headphones because the foam padding, that the outer coating for the foam was starting to disintegrate, so they're kind of old. So I had to get them. It's not cold today, but I'm surprised you're still. Well, it's better than having these particulates fall into my ear and then I have to dig them out. It's really terrible. No big lights. Think dog meat 95. I don't know what that means. I don't have to look that up. Speaking of lighting, I'm sure you saw Curtis's new video with the about the aperture light that's going up against the airy sky panels. I thought that was kind of interesting. One day we'll have a need for $3,000 lights. All right, so that should be good. We're going to open the valve, right? I'm going to let it flow through. There it is. It's coming out. I need just a little more loft or height from this stand. Ooh, is that it? That's it. So Brian's asking, why have an adjustable spout if you're just going to fully open? You can adjust it. So I think if you want to play around with different ideas as far as flow rate, you could. That's my guess. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's either off or on, right? All right, let's close that valve. Oh. It's all fancy and big. All right, so we've got our coffee now. Where's the light? Okay, here's the light. We're going to look at it. Oh, look how much the light is impacted. So compared to most of our brewing, there's quite a bit of small, tiny sediment that is actually inside that is in the liquid this time. So it's you can really see the difference in the filtration between paper and this one. Oh yeah, no big lights. Oh, gotcha. That's right. That would not follow. It would not qualify for that. So are you joining? And if anyone else is interested, if you guys are, it's called the C47. Submissions are due by February 28th. And, you just choose a daylight and low light shot of your favorite. I was actually shooting last week. I went out to the Baltimore Museum of Art. Oh, I got some photos to show you guys as well. So I'm at the Baltimore Museum of Art and I'm shooting images. And they're awesome. Random, they're awesome. I'm shooting with this old Canon F1N, film. And I'm like, I'm making great stuff. I'm the next Dick Avedon, right? Like, man, it's just like I'm slaying it. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I'm like, got some amazing shots. And so finally I get to the point where I'm looking down at the meter, the counter, right? And it's like 36, 37, 38. And I was like, what in the world is going on with this? So I'm thinking, man, did I not properly load the cartridge, the film, onto the take-up spool? Because we're way past, like 36 roll, you could probably squeeze out 38, maybe 38 pictures, but 39, 40, there's no way. So I went home, or I went back. I went home. Where'd I go? I went somewhere. Went to the bathroom, shut off all the lights, popped it open, stuck my finger in. Holy smokes. I didn't even have a cartridge load. There was not even a film canister in the camera. The camera was completely empty. I was like, oh my gosh. Like all morning. I was like, it was like last Wednesday or Friday? Like all that morning I was shooting. I was like making, and I think I really had some great shots. I was like, oh my gosh, what a complete disaster that was. Disaster. So Rusty's asking, you ever do cold brew with it using a Sodrip? Soudin soft brew or just so... Like the big towers you had, I still have the towers. I still have 2 towers. I sold 4 of them at the auction, and I kept 2. So I still have towers here. The thing is with those is that they're fantastic and they make great product. The problem is that they make a gallon at a time, and I don't really drink that much coffee. So to make a gallon of coffee, I don't know what I would do with it. I need to do something with, I need to, when I have them here because, the cafe used to operate. So when the cafe's operating, I did make it. And here we did it differently because we would actually serve it as a cold brew with coffee ice cubes. So we would make the coffee and make a batch, freeze it into ice cubes, and then use those ice cubes as the cubes in the coffee itself, so that it was always like, it was, even though it was warm the temperature was warm and it's all melting, it's not getting, there's no dilution as would be with a normal iced coffee. So slow drip. Oh yeah. So yeah, slow drip. So for sure. So we usually, okay, well, we'll do that. So it usually time it, because it takes 4 gallons of water. 4 gallons of water? No. Over a gallon of water. We're getting about, gosh, it's been a while. We do 1,500 no, that's not right. 4,000 milliliters of water. Yeah, it's 4,000 milliliters of water and 266 grams of coffee, and that produces a 1 gallon batch. You could double that and get and make a kind of concentrated batch, but we never did that. I didn't like doing the concentrations in the towers as much as I like doing them in the toddy. So, gosh, it's been a while since I've actually made one. So it's like, I have to think, how much, what's the ratio again? All right, so let's try this coffee. So what is this coffee? This coffee is a strictly high grown SHG EP European prep, which just means that it's a washed coffee that is very clean, and it's from Jinotega, Nicaragua. And Jinotega, if you're familiar with, there's the capital of Managua. So if you take the Pan American Highway and you head north, which is technically northeast, in total direction, and you drive about 3.5 hours north, or 3 hours north, you reach the town of Jinotega. And actually, Jinotega is this town that's sort of kind of in between, but not really in between Matagalpa, which is one of the big coffee producing regions, and Esteli, the big cigar region. So you can take the chicken bus. Well, I took the chicken bus across. So I took the chicken bus from Managua to Jinotega. Then I took the chicken bus again from Jinotega to Matagalpa. So Matagalpa to Jinotega is probably about 45 minutes. Yeah, it's about 3 hours or so, 45 minutes, then another hour across back to between Esteli and Managua. So, back to you. Right on. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate that there, Rob. Good to see you, man. And get those voiceovers done. Can we get one of your previous employees to verify these numbers? I'll have to call. I'll call someone. And so this one is so that's where it's from, and it's a wash coffee, and it's got nice. Oh, that's kind of heavy. It's to be expected. It's heavier. It's heavier than the coffee it's heavier. Like I had this morning, so it's heavier, and the sweetness has been diminished. So it's heavier because there's more sediment, right? With this with this coarser stainless mesh filter instead of the paper pulls all that out. So it's a little bit heavier. It's a little bit there's a little more bitterness that's coming through, but it has nice cacao notes, some good sweetness. I think though what would be kind of fun with this kind of coffee is either to eat nice sweets, like a tasty cake, candy cake would be nice. Or even you could do this with like a little bit of cream and sugar. Sometimes that would be kind of fun too. Or just have it with pancakes and syrup. Oh, speaking of which, Rusty, so last week we were talking about pancakes and syrup. I had pancakes the next day. I was thinking about it. I was like, I had to go do it. And I'm still not I don't pre-cut. How about you guys? You pre-cut your pancakes and then put this, or do you cut as you eat? That's the question. That's the question of the day. Pre-cut your pancakes, or do you cut as you eat? Interesting how that brewing device makes a really big difference in the coffee. Like to this morning, I had this same coffee, but with a similar brewing method in the Clever. So it's a full immersion. So 3 minutes and then a minute to fall. But it had paper filters. So the filter really cleans up the coffee. And so it's really a bit different. But I had that this morning with some baguette and some bacon and some eggs. So a nice quick breakfast. Oh, team pre-cut. Right on. Brian says he had pancakes the next morning, but he couldn't do it. Sorry, Rusty. Yeah. And Tony says, as you eat, definitely. Now, that was something that I don't recall from last week, Rusty. Do you pre-cut? Okay, you pre-cut. But do you pre-syrup? Like, do you syrup the whole thing? Like, here's my thing. Is like, I'll cut it and I'll put the syrup. But sometimes, when I get the maple syrup, I like to put enough. I need to put a generous amount, a proper American amount of syrup, right? And sometimes, when I put that proper amount, that layer of the pancake separates because they're so laden with that. And George says he likes to try the entire pan. Oh, nice! At one time. And Steven likes to roll them up and dunk in a bowl. I like that. I like that approach better. Now, what about you guys? What do you think? Are you guys straight pancake people, or do you prefer with things like, chocolate chips or blueberries in your pancakes? That's what I'm curious to know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about how do you like your pancakes? Me personally, I like to have the pancakes just plain. Like, I'm not a big fan of like blueberries in my pancakes or chocolate chip. I'm very much about purity, right? Purity. That's the animal. Yes, yeah. I like that. Roll them up and dunk them in a bowl. That's just decadent. Like, that's when I want to buy the big one from Costco, the maple syrup, and they put it in a bowl so it's like nice but so expensive to do that. So expensive. I'd have to filter it and put it back in the bottle because. But I remember when I was in Vermont, like my friends turned me on to this one farm by their house, where you go there and you get the grade B, right? It's the secondary grade, but it's a darker grade, so it's like really nice. And so like it was cheap back then. It's like $20 a gallon. Like you'd buy it by the gallon. It was ridiculous. Like you just couldn't be like, oh my gosh. Purity. Steven's also into purity. Excellent. That's good. That's good. George says blueberries, but have to be in the pancake, not on the in the pancake. Well, that's what I mean. Like for me, it's like even when it comes to waffles, like I'll cop to like having ice cream and whipped cream on my waffles from time to time. But even like with waffles, I like it to just be me personally. I just want it to be plain. Like especially with waffles, I really want a lot of butter and a lot of maple syrup so that it's all like slushy inside the little waffle cups. That's what I really want. That's what I really like. But I'm okay with it. Well, blueberries in the pancake. My niece likes it that way, so I can't complain. All right, so let's move on to our cigar of the night, which is the Dapper La Madrina Toro. Right here, this is it, the Dapper. So Dapper is the actual name of the company, Dapper, and this is called the La Madrina Toro. It's $11.30. I picked this up at Widmer's Tobacco in just south of Philadelphia when we were there in November for Rusty's chili competition. This is actually my last cigar from that trip. And Tony says bacon mixed into waffles is a good. Bacon mixed into waffles. But for me, it's so. See, this is the thing. I like bacon and I like waffles, but I like them separate. It's kind of like me and French fries, right? I like sandwiches and I like French fries. And the idea of putting them together is always fun, right? It could be fun. But so when you go to Primanti Brothers in Pittsburgh, that's their thing, right? The Primanti Brothers sandwich has, French fries in the sandwich, and people are like, "Oh, it's amazing." But you know what? Once you start to bite into it, you don't really notice it because basically once you start to eat the sandwich, it's kind of like having mashed potatoes inside your sandwich, which is fine. But what I really enjoy about fries is to have nice and crispy fries on the side so that there is that textural juxtaposition and that extra saltiness. That's it. So for me, it's kind of like, that's why I like to have them all separate. And then I can mix them as we go. You know what I'm saying? Thought I was blasting myself until my brother maybe tried. I'm always going to try something. So if people give it to me, I'm going to try it. George likes that idea too. Pam agrees with me as far as separation. She would know. The Terra chips, but the Terra chips are all mixed. Aren't they mixed? There's a mix of flavors, right? Taro and because that's why Terra, earth chips. Yeah, never mind. I get it. Yeah, Steven's with us. Steven's. All right. So Dapper is a company that was started, I think, 2013. The owner was this dude that was in tech. There's some interesting similarities here with their story. So they started doing tech. And, this is actually kind of silky. There's a silky feeling. If you look at it closely, it's a little bit on the dry side. Like it feels dry, but there's a silkiness, smoothness to it. That's interesting. Ooh, and it's got a sweet. I better grab my. I have to grab the grading form, right? So we can do all of our proper testing. All right, so we've got this, and interesting. It's kind of a medium shade, right? That's a medium shade, and it's got a really interesting, sweet kind of manure. Like there's a really attractive sweet manure smell on the fragrance. That's actually really, really nice. I'm going to give that a nice higher on the. So Pam says most are mixed vegetables. There are some that are single vegetables, sweet potato. Oh, excellent. So does this mean that you work for them so you get like cases and cases to take home with you? Is that how it works there? Do you have connections at Coca-Cola? We could use cases of Diet Coke would be great. And several seasons. Oh, nice. Do they manufacture in Baltimore? Like, is all the frying or baking done here? So here it's nice and that's actually really interesting. So Dapper, like I said, is a guy who made his money in the tech industry and then started having cigars made for him. And this cigar is actually made. Let me see, get this right. I better get the right thing. So it's made in a factory called Nicaragua America Cigars, NACSA, in Esteli. So here we have a tech guy that starts his own cigar company in 2013. And we have this guy is making cigars. And I don't know if this is the only cigar he makes there or if he makes all of them at NACSA. But the person that runs NACSA is a guy named Raul Disla. So this correlates to another tech guy that we know who started his own cigar company a little bit before 2013, but also has a factory that's run by a guy named Esteban Disla, which is Raul's brother. So I thought that was kind of an interesting correlation. Oh, so Terra chips are made in Mountville, PA. Nice. Does that mean so you're driving there, like, or do you work from home or from another remote office? All right, so this is actually quite interesting. Like, it's a nice sweetness that I'm kind of excited to try. All right, let's cut. We'll do the cutting. All right, there's our cut. I must say, several weeks ago, after Yasmin was like, you need to change the focal strength. It actually works a lot better. All right, so let's see. Oh, every day, nice. So there is some sweetness on the tongue, and we're not talking a sugary sweet like like those ones that are dipped in sweetener, like that Steve Saka puts out. Not like that. It's actually just kind of a natural sweetness. The draw is not quite firm, but smooth. Pleasant. I'm digging it. Right away, I'm digging it. So cold draw is very positive. Wow. I mean, for me, I have to say that's excellent. An 8. Okay, so let's get to our lighting. I'm going to use some matches today. Because I kind of want to use matches. Because they're always piling up. It's like, I need to get rid of the matches. So a little bit uneven. All right. I think that's it. There's a pleasant aroma in the smoke. My initial thought was like cacao. Okay, so first few puffs, there's a little bit of acridity. I think that's really because there's a little bit of bite on the tongue. The acridity is more of a bite. I think that's because of the way that I lit it. But there's a nice, is it a spiciness to it? There's a nice, it's sweet. There's a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of spice. Dare I say, like Old Spice. A bit brightness. There's like a brighter acidity on the tongue as well. That's a pleasant acidity. It feels nice. It feels like a well-made cigar. Like, I'm really surprised. I never heard of Dapper. So let's look here closely. So this is the La Madrina, right? And am I too close? There we go. So as you can see, there's this skeleton hand. And you're probably wondering, why is there this skeleton hand? And what's going on here? What's he holding? A rose or a carnation? I think it's a carnation. So the La Madrina, this is a whole. So evidently, from what I was reading about it, the guy Wraith that owns the company saw that was it Crown Heads had released something called the Las Calaveras, and if you remember, the Las Calaveras has that kind of skull on the band, kind of that Dia de los Muertos kind of look to it, right? Oh, you got to finish his laundry? What is this, the Dark Ages? And Ryan wants to know, how's it go with coffee? That's a good idea. What happened to ERA and like women's lib? What's going on there? So anyway, so this so he decided to use this thing called La Madrina. La Madrina, it means the La Madrina in Spanish means the godmother. But the iconography here of the skeletal hand is actually from something in Mexico called Santa Muerte. Santa Muerte. And Santa Muerte is this saint of death, the holy mother of death. Is that right? The holy, what is it called? It's called Nuestra Señora de la Santa Muerte, which means Our Lady of the Holy Death, right? And so basically she is a saint of death. And it's kind of derivative from Catholicism, but it's definitely not supported by the Catholic Church. Like, the Catholic Church, basically calls these people, they don't call them heretics. They stop short of calling them heretics, but they do say that the worship of Santa Muerte is cultish and Satanism, part of the occult. But what is Santa Muerte? Santa Muerte is this female skeleton figure that is really kind of become the patron saint of the poor in Mexico, as well as the people that live on the fringes of society. Not necessarily criminals, but criminals are involved. Criminals, police, drug dealers, prostitutes, taxi drivers, people that work at night, people that are subjected to potential harm during their work, especially at night. They will pray to the Santa Muerte for protection. And there's even like a growing cult, like some people that are worshiping Santa Muerte have schismed off of the Catholic Church, and so the Catholic and Protestant churches are really kind of against them, or against the whole thing, because it is essentially worship and idolatry and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of the quick story behind it. But it's interesting because like people will pray to Santa Muerte to help ensure that, well, some of them, let's say like taxi driver, will help and hopefully ensure that that taxi driver will not be killed during the night while they're working. Prostitutes, of course, they don't get killed. They get beat up and killed. But also drug dealers will be out there to pray to Santa Muerte and burn candles in order to protect their shipments. Conversely, the police, the federales, the officers, will also pray to Santa Muerte to protect them as they try to interdict the drugs. So it's very interesting, but it's gotten a lot of popularity, especially from the mainstream Catholic Church, because the poor people, and it's a lot of poor people that are the ones that are really into it, and part of that is because the prayers that they've been giving to traditional saints under the Catholic Church have, not really resulted in any improvement in their lives. So they look for protection from the Santa Muerte, which I thought was just kind of a very interesting thing. So we've got this cigar, the Dapper La Madrina Toro, and there are 6 variants that are in the line of La Madrina. This is the natural Toro. So I think, is that right? I'm saying this, but I didn't. Yeah, natural Toro. And this one cost $11.30. So a little bit on the higher end, but my initial response is very positive. Like, dare I say it's reminiscent of even the Intemperance BA23, but it doesn't use the Brazil wrapper. So what does it use? Let's look at their website, because I'm surprised they actually give quite a bit of details on their website. All right, here we go. La Madrina, full Death by Chocolate. Yeah, get currant sweet and earthiness. Black walnut, cherry pepper. All up on your palate. Waves of spice, fruit, and nuts are most apparent in the material. I guess. So here it is. So wrapper, Ecuadorian wrapper. Oh, La Cuchita, Cuban seed Habano, Oliva, tobacco. La Luchita is the farm. So what I thought was interesting here is that they're actually giving quite a bit of information, more so than other than other cigar companies, right? A little bit about the farm itself. I mean, identifying the farm, which is pretty surprising. Cuban seed Habano, and then the company that they source it from, which is Oliva Tobacco Company, right? The binders are Mexico San Andres, and they're sourcing it from San Andres de los Perros. San Andres de los Perros. San Andres of the dogs. Interesting. And then the fillers there's 4 different fillers. Nicaraguan from Esteli, Guadalupe. That's must be the varietal. I never knew that they had one. From Oliva, another one from Jalapa, which is to the north. Cofradía Relleno, the Oliva tobacco as well. The Dominican they get a Dominican Habano 92, which they did not disclose. Well, I don't know what they're not disclosing. Maybe the farm, because the Habano 92, I believe, is the varietal, right, of the thing. And then from up in Lancaster, they're getting the Pennsylvania Broad. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to check out the Pennsylvania Broad, but several years ago, I would do weekly trips to Pennsylvania just to kind of hang out and get a change of scenery and do something on my day off, right? It was typically Tuesdays. So I would drive up there in Amish country and go visit different places, but I would always drive through the fields, and I was always fascinated because like you'd see this Pennsylvania broad, and by the time August came around, man, the leaves were really massive. Like you're like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. But I never did see any farmers out there, so I never got to talk to anyone about like, because I always wanted to stop and like, hey man, talk to the Amish guy about their leaves and like just be curious about it. Well, so there are three sizes: Robusto, Toro, and Corona Gorda. Natural wood, fully dressed hinge box, blah 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 blah. So nice. It's so far. It's a nice. It's starting off nice. I'd say it's a good medium plus in strength. Actually, probably more than medium plus. A good body. Like the body is I'm saying it's pretty high. Not the highest, but pretty darn high. So besides Tony, what's everybody smoking tonight? Like it must be, you guys must be smoking something good because it's pretty nice outside. Like I was actually outside. I had an afternoon cigar today. When about 1:30, I was like, you know what? Weather's really beautiful. I had the doors open, so the breezes were flowing through. And I was like, I'm going to go have a cigar now. So I sat here, had a cigar. Nice. Like, it's about 65. I mean, it was pretty nice. Like, I mean, if it was middle of summer, that'd be freezing. I mean, it'd be cold. But right today was just, ooh. And then I started working today on some, on tomorrow's lunch, which is French onion soup, or really just onion soup. But I don't even know what's French, but basically took some bacon, cut them up, fried them in the bottom, stick of butter, all these like onions and shallots, just all sliced them up and put them in there. Sauteed them. Well, not sauteed them, but light sauteed them for like about an hour or so until they broke down and got really like nice. And that's the thing about making onion soup, right? Like you start off, you chop all these onions. It always looks like a lot. But once you get it reduced, it's not very much at all. You're like, oh man. And so I did it for quite a while. And then I put some thyme, a little rosemary, some salt, some MSG. What else do we add? A little bit of white wine, a little bit of white port. And then a whole bunch of like chicken broth. Now I'm just letting it sit. So I wanted to make it today because, the soup develops better flavor overnight. So tomorrow it should be really nice and robust. So I got the baguette ready. I got the Emmentaler all ready to go. So it should be quite nice. Then for dinner, I was like, I kind of got caught. Like it was 7 o'clock. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't really even thought about it. I was editing this video, and then 7 o'clock came. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat before the show? So ran over to a place called Pizza Connection. They've got a small personal pan 8-inch pizza for $6.35. I was like, all right, that's what I'm having. Cheaper than going to Chick-fil-A. All right, so there's definitely a brightness to this coffee, like a nice, juicy acidity brightness to it that's just kind of flowing underneath. And that's really quite pleasant. And it's smoking well, smooth draw. Let's see the coffee. So this coffee, like I said, is kind of heavier than it was earlier, but it's a nice coffee. But I think that for this particular cigar with the nice, bright, acidic, juicy notes to it, I think we'd be much better paired with one of those like Ethiopians we've been having for the last few weeks. that little bit lighter roast, I think that would go really well. But the construction feels wonderful. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Raul's brother Esteban over at Roma Craft or at Nica Sueño that makes the cigars for Roma Craft does a wonderful job. And so these two brothers, I mean, you can see definitely the heritage behind the way that they roll. Oh, what's up, Alan? Popping into chat for just a moment while doing inserts. Volume is not up. Oh, volume's not up. Let me pump that up a little bit more. How's that? A little bit better? I guess in my headsets it's pretty. How's that? I hope that looks better. Oh yeah. I guess if I'm looking at the levels, yeah, you're right. Now let's see. But also, I've got since we do this weekly, I've got this all prepared. So basically, I do have a pretty robust exhaust in here, so it's a little bit hard to. Well, let's try. Oh, nice. Brian says, "Okay, good. Well, Alan's a sound guy. Like that's his deal. That's his life. So anytime he says there's something, we always listen." No, Alan, if you're still here, I was just thinking about you earlier today because I know on your live streams you talk about how you don't do headphone reviews because it's hard. How can you relay to the viewer the headphones? And I was thinking about you today because I was watching this video from Linus Tech Tips, and it's a video where the one guy they're testing out the tech from Dollar General, from the dollar store, and they were doing all these like headphones, these cheap like $5-10 headphones, which are just rubbish. But beyond that, they were actually like using a comparison Sony headphone, but they were actually playing, or they had recorded samples from the headphones themselves. So I guess they might have shoved the mic in there and clamped them down. They didn't show how they did it, but they did. You could hear the results, and I just thought that was interesting, just to point out to you that maybe to check out, just to see if there's anything that might be worthwhile to consider for future videos that you might be considering. Yeah. No, as long as it's good. Like the important thing is that as long as it sounds good, sounds good. Parts of it's growing well. Look at that. The burn looks pretty good. Look at that, nice and even. Like must be a lot of magnesium because it's kind of white. At least that's what I heard back in the 90s, and I still say that thing. Who knows if it's true or not? But I'm not. But if you look at the way that it's burning, like even though it's pretty long now, I'm not getting any concern. I don't have any concern about it falling. Like I don't feel the pressure to tap it out. Yeah, it does look nice, doesn't it? My goodness. What are you smoking out there tonight, Brian? Right now, there's a dryness on my palate. I'm not sure if that's coming from the cigar or not. Oh, Aquitaine. Nice. That's a good one. Made by Raul's brother. Excellent. I'm finding that to be pretty nice. But this dryness is kind of interfering. Maybe because I'm pulling too hard on it. But, it's getting long, so I'm always getting a little bit. Now I'm getting a little bit nervous. Only because, I'd rather not fall on the desk. So we're going to tap it. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, okay, excellent. Oh, you're actually on set. Awesome. We're glad to have you. Glad to have you. Yeah. So for everyone that's watching, Alan is one of the YouTubers that I follow a lot, and he's a boom operator down in Atlanta, and works on real movies and real TV shows. So actually, it's kind of funny because I wasn't sure what he meant when he said setups, but setup is the term we use between the times when you're setting the camera up and shooting. So nice, dude. Thanks, man. I'm glad you're here. We'll try to be quiet so that we don't interrupt the take. Alan was also one of the guys that was against the contract that the union that we both belonged to was pushing back in September, October. And I'm going to pull the band off. I mean, the wrapper, I think it looks nice. Construction, there's a little bit of big vein there, but not too big. Yeah, look at that. Not bad. I mean, the flavor is nice. Nice. Yeah, Steven, nice. Very nice ash. Got good cacao flavors to it. A bit of brightness. Maybe a lighter fruitiness, but more of a maybe like a plum or date fruit character to it, I'd say. Mm. Yeah, so the weather here's been pretty nice, pretty nice. What else did we do today? We today had I don't know. Well, let's have a look at what some of the other guys are saying about this cigar. No, that's Robusto. We don't want that. Okay, so Cigar Score. The guys at Cigar Score say oh, look at this. CigarClub.com has the Madrina at $12.75. Widmer's had it for $11.30. That's a good deal then. After smoking the Dapper La Madrina Toro for just under 90 minutes, I didn't love the flavors, but this is a really great cigar. Construction was fantastic, great draw, mostly even burn. Flavors were my favorite. Taste notes of wood, something sour. That I would say that sourness he's talking about is probably the acidity that I'm talking about. Leather. I can see the leather. It was an overall great experience, and I think you'll like the Dapper La Madrina Cigar Score 5. So let's see their score rating system. What is this? Oh, so 5 is their top rating. Okay, good. Nice. Then Leaf Enthusiasts. Let's see. Oh, so look at this picture. And then look at this cigar. Right? There's a massive shade difference. So I'm thinking that this particular cigar, even though it doesn't say it, it just says La Madrina Toro. I'm thinking that this must be the Robusto version. I mean, the Maduro version, because look at the wrapper. It's very, very brown, Maduro-ish compared to that. Yeah, 11. I mean, that's a pretty. I'm pretty surprised. You know, because I've been under the impression that this was the natural, but I don't know. Based on this photo, it looks. Although there was nothing in their website. Oops. That said there was there anything that says that there was different La Madrina? Vitolas? Yeah, it doesn't. Maybe they are really natural. Maybe there's just a wide shade difference. I don't know. That's where'd it go? I lost it. Well, here, even look at this one, right? This one from Developing Palates. Look at the color of this cigar. Matches this color. But then by Catman John, that looks a bit lighter. It doesn't look as light as this one. Maybe in this, maybe that's more natural. I don't know. Well, we'll just have to presume. I'm going to presume that these are all supposedly the same. So he says there's nothing that says the name of the company. Oh, yeah, you're right there. It just says, even on the labeling, even on the little tobacco thing, I mean, that little label thing, it just says La Madrina. It doesn't say Dapper. The only reason I remember it's Dapper is because the label from Widmer says Dapper La Madrina Toro. Oh, that's interesting. So he says, after clipping, Madrina had good draw of taste of chocolate, roasted nuts, cedar, and earth. I definitely agree with the chocolate flavor. Pre-light aromas and taste did not disappoint. Slight sweet citrus note, yeah. Semi-sweet chocolate, yes. Roasted nuts and earth. Before the pepper spice tingled across the lips. Peanut note. Maybe that's what I could be tasting here. Peanut note. That might be it. Yeah, because it's definitely not, the cacao is not as strong now. I'm not really getting a cedar, though. The price point is reasonable for a boutique brand with such a rich flavor profile. Excellent cigar he wants to get more of. 9.5 out of 10. Wow. Sorry for the confusion. I backed up the stream. Oh, no worries. No, I already figured you would have your phone muted while you're on set. Not to worry. That was just a joke. But it's good to have you, my friend. Good to have you. All right, let's see. What else are people saying? These guys, Simply Stogies. Oh, they're a podcast. I didn't really look this beforehand. Oh, it's been up for a while here. 2018. They did this in 2018. Band design. Oh, they do quite a bit. They're quite thorough. I like these guys. Cap is nicely applied. Oh, you talk about the cap, but look at the color here. That color kind of matches. But then again, one thing to keep in mind is that there's been a lot of time. This is 2018, so that's almost 4 years ago. So this cigar's been out a while. So there could have been a lot of variations in the wrapper color over that time, depending on how many batches they've gone through over the years. Yama, what's going on, man? How you doing? Welcome back. How's it been? Are you out there smoking tonight or just hanging out with us? Either way is always pleasurable. We're drinking a wash coffee, SHGEP from Jinotega, Nicaragua. It's got some nice flavors. Use the Yama pour over, so it's a little bit heavy. Oh, smoking for sure. Excellent. What do you got smoking on there tonight? So, since you're in New York City, are you smoking outside or inside your place, or how does it work out there for you? Like in the city, I used to go to this place, once or twice, really, before they closed. There was a place in the village that I thought was my friend Tony and I went there one night, and really small place. It's been closed for several years now. I don't know if you've been there for a while, but like we are nice, man. Nice. Excellent. So when you're saying some nice buds, what kind of buds? Like, I realize now that there's so many varietals that are available that you can, like, when I go to the pot shops, and I like when I'm in if I'm in Colorado or Portland or Seattle, whenever I'm there, I'll usually stop in and check it out. And like, it's interesting how they have such a wide selection, and you can like tailor to whatever taste you have. I haven't done it enough to know like what I'm trying to do. Like, what I tend to do, like when I was in Denver a few years ago for my friend's wedding, I went out to one of the shops. The first day I was there for like 4 or 5 days, and I went out and I went to the tobacco the pot shop, and I bought a joint. Actually, I bought two joints, but $10 each. Right, the 1 gram joints, bought about $10, pre-rolled. I told him I wanted to have 2 different experiences, so I spent like $20. And every night I come back to the hotel, take a couple puffs, feel good, okay, nice. Put it down, put it back in its tube, and shut it off. Relax, So I spent that entire 4 or 5 days, smoking these joints. Never finished them because I don't really smoke that heavily. And I spent $20 during that same period, that same trip. During the day when I go do something, because the weddings, of course, the weddings only there's the rehearsal dinner, and then there's the wedding. So there's only 2 days. You're there for like 4 or 5 days. So I'd go hang out and tour around, hang out, and then go to a cigar shop and smoke, and maybe another cigar shop, have another cigar. So that entire trip, I'm spending like $60 in cigars and $20 in pot. I was like, oh, it's much cheaper. Cigars are much more expensive than drugs. Actually, speaking of that, like, because Alan is kind of with us at some level, and one thing that reminded me that this whole thing just reminds me, years ago when I was active in production, some of these guys from Texas some grips came up from Texas to work a show with us, and they had something called Hammer Time. And what it was, that these guys had hammers, right? They had wood-handled hammers. And so what they would do, they wrapped it with tape, like gaffer's tape. And if you're familiar with gaffer's tape, you can readily remove it. But what they had done is they took their hammers and they drilled into the wood handle. They drilled 2 ways, right? And, sometimes it was hammer time. And there they were, just holding their hammers. I was like, oh, that's pretty ingenious. And then once they were done, replace the gaffer's tape. No one's the wiser. Exactly. Like, and that's the one thing about that funny thing I always thought about the film business was, especially production, is like, you could have random drug screening, sure, but you'd lose most of your crew. So that never happened. At least not when I worked. I was like, oh, that never happens. And I mean, like, you'd have everybody, you'd lose the entire crew. Not just the grips, not just the gaffers, not props and set, not just those guys, but you'd lose them all. Directors, assistant directors, actors, everybody be wiped out. Producers. It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. Yeah, they're very creative. Those guys are very creative. I don't know what they do now. They maybe do the same thing. I don't know. It's been quite a long time since I've been active in production. Like a good 17 years now. The last movie that I did was 2005. Actually, I even forgot that I had done this until I found my check stubs not too long ago. But it was a movie called High School Musical. That was the last movie I did. So it's been quite a while since I've been active. All right, so we're finished the first third, and it's been very good. Flavor has been very good. So I'm giving it 7.75s in both flavor and body for those sections. Oh, yeah. I definitely smoked during that. So I've been smoking cigars since about 2003, 2004. So I definitely have. Actually, the greatest time we ever had on a movie set was, and this is across all of them, was in 2007, or 2008, I was working on a movie called Enemy of the State. And you may have heard of the director, this guy named Tony Scott. He's the brother of Ridley Scott. Unfortunately, Tony, about 5-6 years ago, he decided to jump off the San Pedro Bridge in LA Harbor, committing suicide. It was really, really a tragic loss. I mean, he's really, really a great guy, and really one of the most fun directors I've ever worked with. And so the great thing about this show was that it was, at the time that we were shooting it, it was the biggest budgeted film ever at $135 million. So Jerry Bruckheimer was the producer, and was it Warner Brothers that was producing? I don't remember who was producing it, but it was the biggest picture ever made at the time. Now, of course, and since that time, there's budgets of films are much, much higher now. I mean, the Marvel movies are what, 250 million? But back then, it was the biggest budget production, and Tony was our director. And Tony Scott is an avid cigar smoker, just basically degenerate cigar smoker. Monte Cristo No. 2 Habanos, nonstop, all day long. From the time that we called, from the call time to the wrap, no matter what time of day or night it was, he was always having his cigar, chain smoking them nonstop. It was really, really amazing. And so because of that, and also back then, cigar smoking wasn't wasn't frowned upon like it is now. Yeah, they're wonderful guys. Actually, I've never worked with Ridley, so I don't really know, but Tony was a great guy. Like, I would have, if they had called me, they were like, hey, we want you to come with us to wherever in the world, I would have gone. But but because Tony smoked and a lot of other guys smoked, it was essentially a smoking set. So I would sit there. I didn't smoke that much, maybe maybe two a day. But we would sit there smoking. And actually, that's how I learned about these Davidoff matches. Like, Davidoff makes these really fancy long matches, right? Like, they were the precursors to these. Right? These are the same ones. But back then, I think they were just colored. But back then, the Davidoff matches had a cedar color to them. They were really fancy. I think back then in the 90s, they were like $5 for a box about twice this size. And Tony was like a big fanatic about these Davidoff. I'm sure Davidoff, he bought all the cigars from Davidoff, London. I'm sure now thinking about it, I'm sure they gave him all the matches for free, because the props guy who did all his who managed Tony's cigar collection, cigar for the shows, was telling me that he spent like $200,000 a year on cigars. Like he spent a lot of money. So I'm sure Davidoff gave him all the matches he wanted. And so Tony says they were actually seen. Oh, they were actually seen. Okay. They were fantastic cigars. They were fantastic matches. I think I still have a box somewhere at home. But they were, so once Tony was, because Tony gave me a box. He was like, hey, why don't you give these a try? And so these are awesome. So I started buying them after that. Like it was ridiculous. And this is a time when cigars were like $1.50, $2, $2, $2, $3, $4. Like if you bought a $5 cigar back then, you're like, well, that's a lot of money. Like I have a bundle from the cigar boom in '97. I have a bundle of La Gloria Cubana Wavels. And I still have it. I never opened it because it was so expensive at the time. Like it was just ridiculous how expensive it was. I think there's 20, maybe 25. There was 25 cigars because if you think of the shape, it's 25. That the label's still on it. And I mean, at the time, this was exorbitant pricing. Like this was like you were getting raped at this price. Like they were like really raking you over the coals because of the boom, because it was so difficult to get. It was $113 for a bundle of La Gloria Cubana Wavels. And I was like, oh man, that's craziness. So back then, $5 for a box of matches was a lot of money for matches. Like you were like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Like I think the Wavels back then were $3 for one. I don't know, Tony, you remember what those Wavels cost today? I think they're $3. Let's see, $113 divided by 25. So 452. That was an astronomical amount. Astronomical. So yeah, it was probably like $3 for $75, right? So we had a little bit of, towards the end of the first third, it was getting that kind. I said that I had this kind of like, I didn't say numb. It wasn't numbness that I said. It was kind of like this dryness. I had a dryness. So for me, on my palate, it was a little bit, I guess it would be the best way to describe it. It was a little bit getting like stalling. That's kind of washed away. Now it's getting smooth, a little bit spicy. Very interesting still. Tony says the last ones I bought were the long white stick matches were like $5 a box. Oh, okay. Maybe haven't seen. I guess they haven't changed in price, but I think the white, pine or whatever it is, not cedar. So maybe that's why it's still the same price. That's why I was really happy when Gary was like, oh yeah, take a few of the boxes. Oh, thank you very much, Gary. When we were up in Jersey in September, I was like, all right. I'm thinking that maybe even the second third is better than is becoming better than the first third. So who's over at Bud's tonight? I figured Tony, Bud, of course. Did you guys say Nate was there too? I thought Nate has the Pipe Club tonight. Here's something that I wanted. I was thinking about. Like, I've had this cigar since the beginning of the early part of November, and it's been in the Rubbermaid humidor, the one that Rusty gave me. And I have to say, this thing is just excellent. Like, it's working awesome. Like, it's like, for example, here it is, right? here's the Rubbermaid, and it has, of course, has this rubber seal or silicone seal or whatever the seal is. And inside here, a bunch of cigars. So I got a bunch of cigars that are coming up for the next few episodes. And these are the two Bovitas that Rusty put in here when he gave it to me. The one of them is still in its packaging, so that's not even doing anything. But this one, since September, look at that. There's no crystallization of the medium. Oh, very, very, very small. Like a very granular, kind of like feels like maybe sugar. Not turbinado or sugar in the raw sugar, but like real sugar, like regular cane sugar. Like it's still perfectly supple. And this has been going on since September. This is a heck of a humidor. I'm really, really surprised and kind of shocked about it, actually. Oh, Eric, John, Dave, yourself, and Bud. Okay, good. Nice group. What's going on, guys? How y'all doing there? What's the hygrometer say? Oh, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't think I have the hygrometer in here. I think it's still in the plastic bag. No, where is the hygrometer? Did I take it out? You know what, Rusty? I don't know. I thought it was still in here. Or I thought it was in this bag. I'm going to have to look around here. Well, you know, yeah. I mean, like if this pack, this original pack, 69% pack, is still this supple, yeah, it's holding humidity. And what I was leading up to is that this cigar that's been in here since November, like most of the cigars are, of course, that I keep in here are rotating because we're using them during the shows. But this one's been here since November, and I was going to use it earlier, then I pushed it back in the schedule until today. So this has been in there for 2 months, and it's perfect. It's great condition. Oh, is it raining? I'm glad I didn't wash my cart today. I was thinking about actually washing it to get the salt off. If it's raining, I'm happy because it'll wash the salt off. No skateboarding tomorrow. You know, speaking of which, skateboarding, have you thought about making videos about your skateboarding? Like we talked about that one time. I think it would be cool, man. I think you could do some really cool stuff with that. But I'll say no more. You could be the YouTuber, the old guy skating on YouTube, and a whole inspiration for a generation. That's my thought. We're coming down to the end of the second third, and it's kind of nice. Oh, you would be surprised, young ma, because you've got Brian and Bud. They both like to do the motorized skateboards, like those Evolve skateboards. They're the ones you see the cool kids driving. They're out there, 30 miles an hour, smoking cigars. Yes, Steve, I was telling your brother this a while back. You should push on him a little bit from out there. Hey, man, when are you going to do that? Actually, what are you talking about, man? Crashing on the skateboard is epic video right there. That is like what people want to see. People want to see the fat old guy crash. That would get you views. You could be like viral sensation by that, by doing that. You know, cruising, smoking, going fast, crashing. Oh, with the cigar? No, even better. You might even get the anti-smoking people to like tune in because they want to see the fat guy smoking a cigar crashing on his skateboard. This kind of format sounds like it's appealing to a wide audience. Well, you know, I just realized, Tony, I have not been able to respond to your text that you sent me. My apologies. If you're available tomorrow, how about we do it tomorrow with the coffee thing when you get out of work? So I just puffed on a little bit heavy this last couple puffs. It's a little bit heat. There's a little more heat coming off of it. It's a little bit unpleasant. This is why I think it's kind of in the very good range rather than the excellent range. Like that little puff, that little heat that came up brought a little bit of acidity that kind of like obscuring the flavors a bit. But there's definitely a lot of there's definitely a strong brightness to the cigar because it does get the saliva production a little bit higher than normal. Oh, the 17th. It's my niece's birthday today. She's 20. God, she's 24, 25 now. I think she's 24. Yeah, she must be 24 because she graduated 2 years ago from college. So I sent her a text message wishing her happy birthday. Haven't heard back from her. She's probably still sleeping. Yeah, the acidity's still kind of there. Like it's coming out with a little more dryness now, a little more roughness, a little bit harsher. Like it was very pleasurable the first third, and it's been good. It's been very good. Maybe we're starting to see some diminishment of that now. So have you guys been watching the Olympics? It's been kind of interesting. They were doing this downhill cross-country skiing, I think it was called, where so eventually the German girl won. First time that someone other than a Canadian has won this event. Evidently, since it's been introduced into the Olympics, it's always been Canadian skiers that have won this. A German girl won it today. Then there was a Swiss girl in the previous round that I was actually kind of rooting for because she pulled out this great win in her previous run. I was like, ooh, the Swiss girl, we want Switzerland to go for it. And I'm sure you guys have heard about the Russian girl, Kamila Valieva. how evidently she's with drugs or anything. But what I haven't really been able to understand is like prior to the start of the Olympics, or right at the very beginning, the first week, they had a lot of videos about her showing like her performances, especially early before the Olympics. And like, I don't know too much about figure skating, but based on what these announcers were talking about, and especially these are people that I presume are experts in figure skating, like this girl, Camila, can do like incredible things. Like something about when you're doing these spins, how no one can hold their hands above their head. Only she's been able to do it. And she's doing like 3 and 4 of them in a row. And you watch her and like you see like, wow, she's really, really amazing. And it's like, wow, that's just fascinating. And so like, I mean, she's amazing. She's truly exquisite on the ice. Like you just can't, evidently there's nobody that can touch her. So, you know, all this stuff about people like, oh, you know, she's taking these performance enhancing drugs, but how much can a performance enhancing drug do for you? Like, okay, I get it. They give you better endurance so you can skate longer, maybe skate harder. But technically, it doesn't, I don't think drugs give you a technical improvement. Like to do that physicality is just something that you just, so I don't know. She's 15 years old. I'd like to see her. I'd like to see her. Evidently, she performed in like Crash and Burn or something. And some people I saw were like commenting, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Of course she's going to crash and burn. The girl has the weight of the world's hate on her shoulders at the moment. She's 15 years old. For God's sake, what child at 15 years old can take that kind of pressure and not buckle? Most adults can't take that kind of pressure and not buckle. And then they were talking about, you know, that gives people an unfair advantage. It's not a even playing field. But then like what's he saying? See the monobob, right? Why did the monobob, the single-handed bobsled for women, why is that an event now? When I saw a video about it where they were talking about part of the evolution of this monobob was because the regular bobsled is just prohibitively expensive. Like the bobsleds themselves are $225,000 because they're so heavily engineered. And so when we talk about having an advantage, like a level playing field, like if you look at that event, the bobsledding, how many countries can afford a $200,000 bobsled? Only a few, and only the big ones. So just like in most competitions, those that are amongst the best are partially there because they have the most funding. And that's even true in like coffee competitions. The ones that tend to win tend to have the most resources. But the monobob, yeah, that was pretty amazing. That's pretty crazy stuff. It's like one person holding on, trying not to crash. Actually, I saw a couple of the bobsledding ones where they would come down that one turn and like nobody could. It's like one of the runs I saw, nobody could make that one turn. They would always hit the wall, bounce off, and then like flip. I was like, oh my gosh, man. Can you imagine? You're doing 85 miles an hour and landing on your head on ice. Holy smoke, that's crazy. Yama says, I heard the veins open up more, so more blood goes through. I mean, I get that. I can see that. But does that blood flow does that really make the difference between someone that can do 4 rotations with their hands above their heads? I mean, I don't know. But I don't know. But a medication is supposed to treat something else, but apparently it was on the bans. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. And Michael says, adult versus 15 years old, what a great perspective. Oh, thank you, Michael. How are you, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, it's craziness. Like those bobsleds are super expensive. That's why there's only like I think like 5 or 6 or maybe 10 competing nations. Like you got like. And that's why the Jamaican team can only do like one. They're like, we can run once. Yeah, Steve. Definitely some bad wipeouts. You're like, whoa, that's some crazy. Like it's craziness. Like crazy. Like those guys that are doing what's the luge? Like I saw a couple of people on the luge like wipe out. You're like, oh man, there's nothing. Like at least in the bobsled, you can like duck dive and like hope to God that like it'll protect you. But when you're on the luge and you lose it on the luge, like you see them, they're just kind of like bouncing off the walls and like sliding down, trying to hold on to the luge. Like this one girl, I think it was a girl, she lost control of the luge completely. And so evidently this was a round where like as long as you cross the finish line with your hand on your luge, you could do another run. But if you lost the luge completely, you were eliminated. It's like, oh man, that was a brutal loss. And then our girl Schifrin, the downhill skier, she's had a tough time. Like I was really interested to see like these guys, like when it was snowing, like yesterday, I think it was snowing, the day before it was snowing, and they're doing the downhill runs. And I don't know, I know nothing about skiing really, or snowboarding, or just skiing. And like, I didn't realize that it's better for them to be riding on icy snow rather than like soft snow, because the soft snow caused them to like I saw this one video where everybody was like 33 people like wiped out on the downhill runs because they just lost the stick. They just couldn't get the edge dug into the ice, so the fluffy snow kind of sent them all flying. Except for the landing on head, it sounds like I must say it would be awesome to try it. Like, but my fat butt would be running to try to jump in. I'd have to be sitting in to begin with, be like, I'm ready to go. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I did not see that, man. How badly was that guy injured? Reminds you of the time when you see those guys doing the is it the Tour de France, right? And like you see them, they're coming down the tour on one of the curves, down the downhill curves, and they like basically miss the roadway and like fly off the side of the hill. You're like, holy smokes, man! Those guys are craziness. Can someone explain the doubles luge? Yeah, I don't know. Why are they holding that? Why are they holding that? I mean, how do you hold? I'd be lose. I would be lost. Curling. Oh, did you see the Japanese team against the Americans? Man, that girl was just like super. She was like super like slick. She's like, give it a little twist and like, it's like going off on its own. You're like, whoa. Like knocked out the American team. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Did you know also here in Maryland, there is actually a curling club in Laurel, the Capital Curling Club, I think it's called. I looked it up yesterday. I was like, I don't know whether there's a curling around here. Should be interested to at least check it out to see what it's like. And the luge guy was killed? Holy, at the Olympics? I didn't hear about that. I'm going to have to look at that. Oh, Rusty says, you talking about the Georgian athlete that died in 2010? My God, that's terrible. God, hit the I-beam. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, you're traveling 80 miles an hour and like you hit this beam. Shit, that's terrible. Oh, and then I don't know if you saw the men's snowboarding half pipe with the brothers from Tokyo, from Japan, Ayumu, and his brother. I forgot his brother's name, but Ayumu, man, he did some like crazy, like what is it, the 1440 method or something like that, man. It was like wild, like whoa, holy smokes, that's amazing. And then his brother, he hit the half pipe, hit the method 24 feet. I was like, what? He flew 24 feet in the air. And then there was a guy today that I saw, I forgot where he was from, but he was Finland. He was from Finland. He was doing the half pipe, skiing half pipe, which I've got a little comment about that. But anyway, you've got this guy skiing the half pipe, right? And he just tweaked it too much as he came up, because he comes up the side. And, you're supposed to go up the side and go straight up, right? You're supposed to go up, not out, right? Because you're going out, you're coming out of the half pipe, right? So he did something wrong, came out of the half pipe at the wrong angle, and the cameraman's here. He hits the cameraman. Yeah, the cameraman's carrying like a camera that's probably like $20,000. And like a good cameraman, he did not drop the camera. Like if you watch it closely, he gets hit, right? The camera guy he's holding the camera like this. He gets hit with this ski. The camera flies, but he never releases it from his hand. Like you see him turn and kind of fall over or fall back, and that camera is still in his hand. It never hit the ground. I was like, whoa, that guy's awesome. Oh man, that's terrible. Yeah, he's keeping rolling. If you watch the video on YouTube, you see they actually show they show it several times of him getting hit, and then they even show the camera's perspective as it's getting hit and moving. It's like, whoa, that's pretty funny. Actually, those sports camera guys are really, really amazing. When we were shooting a movie called The Replacements, which is a football movie with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves, to get some of the football shots during the games, we would they brought in these guys, these camera operators that were like NFL camera operators. And NFL camera operators are interesting because they use what's called fluid heads, right? So they're these big heads that rotate, and basically they're fluid, and so they move. But movie cameras are used what's called gear heads. So you have these X and Y kind of like knobs, and you rotate them, and it tilts and turns the camera, right? And so once the TV guys got used to how the Mitchell gear heads worked and could operate it smoothly, their ability to follow the ball and find it, the ability to find it and follow it while zooming in or zooming out was just so. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like, if you ever tried to shoot with a sports that way, then you watch them. Like if you watch them, let's say hit the ball, right? They hit the ball and it comes out this way. They're actually zooming out. They're following and zooming out, or sometimes they're zooming in. But their ability to hit it is just like, wow. Send the link to your IMDb. If you punch in my name on IMDb, but use Alfred, Alfred, which is my legal name and the name that I use in the union, then it'll pop up. It'll give you, actually, not all of the shows that I've done I didn't keep up with it very much. It was one of those things that after my first year of my first few years doing it, when you first get into the film business, you're like, oh, I'm going to go look for my name in the credits. And my very first movie, I'm in the movie theater when it came out, I was like, with my camera, I was like, click. And so after a while, you start to realize, okay, this is cool. But what's more important is making sure that you get the name correct on my paycheck. So Michael's asking, is that coffee you're sipping on? I never thought of coffee. Yeah, coffee and cigar. That's why we do coffee and cigars on Thursday nights. So this is a washed, strictly high-grown European prep coffee from Jinotega, Nicaragua. And we make it with cigars. Tonight's pairing's not bad. Because of the brightness in the cigar, and this is a lot more heavier of a coffee, a lot more cocoa kind of flavors. I think that some of the last few weeks we've been doing these lighter roast Ethiopians. I think that would be a better pairing for this cigar tonight than the other ones. Oh yeah, golf camera guys. It's pretty they're amazing. It's especially that tiny ball. It's whoa. I don't know about that. I don't know about those guys. Those guys are they're well paid, and they're very good at what they do. Just a lot of really great coordination, So this cigar was getting a little bit dry, getting a little bit difficult, a little bit of credit, but now it's kind of smoothened out again. So there's a bit of dynamism happening here between kind of worried that it's going to go bad and then getting back to nice. It's been an interesting run that way. Yeah. Yeah, every Thursday night, that's what we do. It's coffee and cigars. Just wait for us to hang out, do some stuff. So also, if you're interested in, the coffee, the cigars at least, we have a listing in the show notes down below that lists the schedule for the next 6 weeks. So you can check that out and see what that's all about. This kind of words will be, you'd think that I would have done well in the SAT. I think I did just okay. I can't remember. It's been such a long time. Yeah, actually, it's kind of nice now. But I think there is this kind of like highs and lows. So far, the cigars had highs, lows, highs, lows, highs. Now we're back on high. You think you would rank this higher if it was smoked in December earlier? That's a good question. Well, one of the big factors I think with cigars is that the condition they're in is going to have a big impact on how they perform when you actually smoke them. So that was one of the the things I pointed out earlier that I thought was interesting was that the humidor that I've been keeping, the Tupperware, the Rubbermaid door, has been performing amazingly. Like it's really in great shape. When we start out with great shape, the suppleness of the wrapper, the feel of it, the draw, everything has been really excellent in that respect. So do I think it would it be better? I don't think so. Like I do have experience now with aging cigars over a very long period of time. And I found that there are highs and lows in a cigar's aging process, but I don't think we've had that much time. Like, I don't know when this was made, but I don't think that there's going to be that heavily appreciable difference between how it would have smoked in November versus now. Michael says, I'll stick with you watching to explain the notes and the pairing. Not the same deal. I used to smoke cigarettes and quit. I think the moment I touch cigars, it'll create, understood. I will say that, not to encourage you, but I think the world of cigars and cigarettes are very, very different, even though that a lot of people like to, make them synonymous and try to equate them to be the same. The experience is very different in that I've never been a cigar smoker. I'm a cigarette smoker, so I'm only extrapolating this from what I've seen. But cigarettes, you're smoking cigarettes because you want that nicotine, right? You want that stimulation. Where cigars are very different in that respect. There is nicotine in the tobacco, but you're not consuming in the same way. Like we're not really inhaling, and we're not absorbing the nicotine in the same manner. So cigars are less about stimulation and more about relaxation. So you'll sit down and you'll smoke a cigar and you'll kind of chill and be relaxed. And it's more of a sensory experience, meaning that you're tasting the flavor of the tobacco, of the smoke, and you're enjoying that. Where you'll sit down for a cigar, maybe an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and enjoying that experience where, cigarettes are a 15-minute experience. And so one thing I've noticed that like, you don't really find cigar smokers huddled in the cold because they need to have their fix. Like, there's cigar guys that are huddled in the cold for sure, but they're really there because they want to, they can't smoke in their house, so they have to sit outside but they're again doing more of a sensory experience rather than a stimulation experience. But if you're worried that could lead you back down that path, I definitely would suggest to hold off on it. Yeah, even Yama agrees with that. So Yeah, the punch it looks like a fun one. Like actually, what I liked about the punch was when I bought it, $6.30. I was like $6.30, as much as my pizza. Yeah, it's an interesting cigar. Since I have the box here, I can show you. Where are you? Did you run away? It's a box pressed Fu Manchu. It's kind of funny. It's got the little like tail here. Nate over at Tobacco Leaf, when I was picking it up, was telling me that this is kind of like stuck to the wrapper, so you don't want to try to remove it, otherwise you'll tear the wrapper. Or that's what happened to him. So I'm looking at trying that. What else do we have here? Next week we're doing the Stolen Thrones Three Kingdoms. I've actually had this before. There we go. I had this when we were at Widmer's in November, and then I bought two of these the other day. So I actually smoked one just like yesterday or the day before. Kind of nice, kind of nice. Yeah, you definitely leave it alone if you're worried about it. Well, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. Nice explanation. Thanks for that. Oh yeah, if you I understand. It's hard to, like, if you inhale cigars. Yeah, it's definitely a very rough experience. It's not. I've met a couple people over the years that do inhale their cigars, but I don't know how they do it. Actually, it's so. The reason that because it's so different. Like with cigars, you're always just keeping it in the mouth, just stimulating your oral sensations, right, rather than your lungs. And so the couple times that I've tried hookah, actually, I thought it was very difficult and very not for me. I didn't derive much pleasure out of, because the hookah is so tight that you have to draw in, like you have to inhale it. And so I just didn't enjoy it. Like I was able to do it, but it's just like, what am I doing? This is just not, for me, it was not interesting. I was like, this is just not what I want. Tony says he had a couple of them. I'm presuming we're talking about the punch Fu Manchu. I don't know if you noticed, but if you look on the for the Fu Manchu, if you look on the thumbnail that I created for it, when I was looking at this, right, with the tail, it reminded me of the Five Chinese Brothers, the little like children's book. I don't know if you guys read that when you were young, but so I kind of like the way that I created the thumbnail was kind of an homage to the Chinese Brothers. I wonder how it matched up to the Kung Pao you did. I'm wondering too. Hopefully it'll be. Did I like the Kung Pao? I don't recall. Oh, my niece just texted me. Thank you. I guess she woke up, or maybe she's watching and she heard me and she was like, I better write back. Has anyone watched the Mike Tyson mystery? I don't even know what that is. What's that all about? And Tony says that the tail is integrated in the cap and not meant to be removed. Brian thinks hoping to get better than Kung Pao. I hope so too. I'm thinking it'll be really. I think it'll be better. I'm hoping it's better. I mean, the price point is really, really good. Like I think it was $6.30. I mean, that's a great price point. So if we could get more cigars made in that price area that perform nicely, that would be really, really nice. Like one of the reasons I bought it because I saw the price and I was like, oh, I think that's a price that Steven would like, because I think it was you, Steven, that was telling me before that, like, why don't you review some more cheaper cigars? You're like, oh, you're right about that. We should be reviewing more cheaper cigars. Youngman says, I hope you're there. Really, I'm with you there. I really tried to like the hookahs, but yeah, it was tough. Like, plus the hookahs is very much about that kind of floral kind of flavor, which I just didn't really find to my liking. Like it's very light and like, and evidently in the Middle East, and I haven't been to a place in the Middle East that does this yet, but evidently it's popular in the Middle East, and this is really how they smoke it in the Middle East. And I was like, oh, maybe next time I'll have to go and try it there and see what it's like. But none of my Saudi friends do it, so it's not really it's not on the high. It's not on the high list yet. Still waiting for the review of gas station cigar. Well, considering now that Drew Estate is individually packaging the acid line of cigars, does that count? Tony says 3 wrappers on the Fu Manchu for sub $7. Pretty good. All right. Looking forward to that. So it's adult animation. Tyson and team solve mysteries that arrive via carry pigeon from all. Oh, a Mike Tyson animated show. That would be kind of interesting. Actually, interesting enough. I hang out when I'm in LA, which I haven't been in quite a long time. I would go on Friday. When I'm there in LA, and I happen to be there on the weekend, I have a group of friends that I hang out with at on Friday nights at a place called, what's it called? The Cuban Seed. It's on Sunset Boulevard, right across from the Viper Room. And the owner is this Jordanian guy named Laith. And so my buddy used to live in LA. Now he lives in Bangkok. But when he was living there, we would always get together at Laith's place. And so when I'm in town, I usually go there. But it's always Friday nights after 10 p.m. And one of the guys that used to hang out there was used to be Mike Tyson's manager. Interesting guy. So young man wants to know, how do you select cigars for your lives? Well, at a very basic level, I go to Tobacco Leaf, and I wander around the humidor, and I look for whatever kind of interests me. New cigars, sometimes cigars have been out for a while, just whatever that looks interesting that I haven't tried before. Especially I haven't tried it before. And actually, Raul is very, very good about bringing in new lines of cigars. So there's always something new. And like maybe I'll get like 8 of them at a time. So that's 2 months worth for shows. So like he'll have like pretty, like one of the cigars that I have to say that I've always been kind of interested to try more of that I haven't yet is a cigar manufacturer by the name of Southern Draw. So the first year of the show, we did have one from them, the Kudzu. I think that was pretty good from what I recall. But that was the one time, but every time I've gone back, like he always has a whole bunch of like Southern Draws, but because he has so much other stuff, it's just one of those things where, okay, I got to try to figure out which ones to get. And Tony's out here. All right, Tony, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. So that's pretty much how I go about it. There's no real rhyme or reason necessarily. Sometimes there may be something that I'm interested to try or something going on. Like, for example, a while back, they had they were having the World Championship of Cigars, or the Cigar World Championship, and there's a very particular cigar they use for that, and it's a very thin, like 46 ring gauge, 4-inch cigar called the Mareva. That's made by Rocky Patel. So I decided we're going to do a show about the Cigar World Championship, and so I got some of those cigars from Raul to try, and so sometimes it's like that, but otherwise it's just kind of what we're interested in, or if somebody makes a suggestion to try, then and I can find it, we'll give it a try as well. Rusty says, my local deli sells pre-packaged individual cigars in a sealed pouch of Partagas, Macanudo, and Punch. I remember buying the Partagas once. It was decent since I was in a pinch. Yeah, the Partagas, I think they're always going to be solid. Like in the 90s, like Partagas was a big one for me. Like they make this big cigar, what they call the number 10. And Dunhill had their own line of Partagas. Same size, same. It was the same cigar. They just call it the number 110 instead of 10. And so that was a really fantastic cigar back then. I don't know how it is. I don't even know if they make that size. So how much does price point come into your decision? So it's getting harder. I think it's getting more and more difficult to find cigars substantially under $10. I like, on a personal level, for myself, I would prefer to spend under $10. However, when we're doing the show cigars, I tend to exercise a lot more leeway, so it can be a bit more, So it's I don't have as much resistance to price when it comes to cigars for the show as I do for myself. If that makes sense. If that kind of. But I do try to find, like this series that I bought now, that's listed below. I tried to find a wide range of pricing. Like, for example, let's say like one of the top cigars from last year was the Sans-Prix. Sans-Prix is like easily $20. Like, to me, that's a lot of money. Like, I'm like, well, that's a lot of money to spend on a cigar. Like, it's a great smoke. It's excellent in cigars for a cigar, but it costs a lot. So, and also because I find that I don't know if when you get to those price levels, it has to really be something special, because I don't really know if I really find too many cigars in that price point that are really, really awesome to my palate. As much as I like Steve Saka, I find his cigars to be quite pricey. And I don't know in my palate if the performance to price ratio really works out as well. Because typically I find myself a little bit underwhelmed for the price point. It's even to the point where there's a cigar made by Drew Estate that used to be one of my favorites, the T52 Bellicoso. Really, really fantastic smoke. But now it's creeped up to the point where it's like $18 on average. And that's a lot of money to spend for a cigar, especially when you're smoking cigars multiple times a week. It's like, whoa, that's a bit of money. I'm not like some of our lawyer friends that can afford $25 cigars daily. And Rusty's saying, have you ever had the Partagas Lusitania? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good. Well, here's the thing about that I have found about Cuban cigars. Actually, I was having a discussion with this on one of the online groups today with this other guy, where he was talking about how there's box codes. And so one of my things is that you can have really, really great Cubans. Like, there's some really, really amazing Cuban cigars out there. The problem is the consistency of the Cubans. So a few years back, my friend Jean Max and I, we decided to get together and buy some cigars. Actually, we just wanted to buy a box of cigars. So about one box of the Monte Cristo number 2. We bought it from this retailer we know in Geneva, guy by the name of Gerard. He owns a place called Gerard Père et Fils. Gerard and Sons, I guess. And his shop is located in the Kempinski Hotel in Geneva, Switzerland. And he is probably by far one of the greatest Cuban tobacconists in the world. I went to visit him in 2014. And he took me on a tour and he showed me everything. And he was like, and it's really, really amazing. He's really super meticulous. So pretty much, if you go to a really, really great retailer who are really, really selective about their cigars, chances are you're going to have a really great experience. So we bought the box from him. He sent us a box. It was amazing. These 20 cigars, like we split them up 10 each. I sucked those down within 2 weeks. Like they were so delicious. 2 weeks later, I'm like, we need to get some more. It cost us $400 for this box, right? Because it was pricier than most places to begin with, plus $90 in shipping. What we forgot was that the $90 covers 4 boxes in shipping. So we could have had the shipping per box cut down. But we forgot that we're just in this zealotry to buy cigars. But so I didn't want to spend that kind of money. So we bought another box, $225 from Pure Express in Spain. They sent us a box. This box of cigars was nothing like the Monty 2s we got from Gerard. Nothing. Like it was just terrible. Even for some of them, I even put them, it was so disappointing that I didn't really smoke them for like a year. So you let them sit for a year. You hope that in that year's time, it's going to get better, improve. No, a year later, still disappointing. So it's really about getting a good batch. So the Cuban companies will put codes on the backs of the boxes. So if you get a batch that's really good, if you know the code of that, you can find more boxes with that code, and it should be theoretically the same. And this one guy that I was discussing with this online was talking about, once you crack the Cuban code numbers, you can buy them relatively assured that you're going to get what you wanted. I never took the time to really understand the codes and all that. It's just a lot more work than, I don't want to have to plug through codes to find what I want. Well, and part of the problem is that, Cuba, they're all basic from what I've been told is that they're all owned by the state-owned entity, and all the facts. So they're like here in the rest of the world, typically a cigar is made by a factory and they make it to a certain specification. There, the different factories will make all the cigars, and they'll use one. So let's say one factory makes Monte Cristo number 2s, and they do a really great job with what they have available to them, and suddenly there's an explosion around the world for demand for that particular box, that particular cigar. Instead of protecting that blend, that formulation, evidently Cuba then tells all the factories to start making that size, and they just ship them. They're not really making the same blend. They're just making all the same cigar, which doesn't really make much sense. But that floods everything, and the quality experience goes down, which is why you have to pay attention to the box codes, because the box codes are all unique or somewhat unique. And yeah, so that's the one thing you have to be aware of. I would suggest, you go to Gerard in Geneva, or to Delay Zigarren in Saarbrücken, Germany. Those are the 2 retailers that I've found that are really, really meticulous in their purchasing. Like the last time I was in Germany, which was over 2 years ago now, just before the pandemic started, I was in Frankfurt, and I went to they had just opened a brand new La Casa del Habano there in Frankfurt. So I went there, beautiful place, really great. And I said to them, well, what's new? What do you have that's interesting? And they said, they just released this new cigar from the Trinidad brand called the Media Luna. I'm like, I'll try it. Man, fantastic smoke. Like, it was delicious. Like, really, really one of the better Cubans I've ever had. But, the problem is that Media Lunas was awesome then, but I'm not sure what I'll get now. So Michael says, yeah, that's a pretty pairing. But if it lasts an hour, not bad. Yeah, definitely. The thing is that, for a lot of the guys that are, especially that watch a show that I know, if you're smoking once a week, not bad. But when you smoke 5 times a week, ooh, and sometimes 2, maybe 3 a day, ooh, it gets a little bit pricey. So Rusty says, my next Cuban purchase will be a box of Monty number 4s. My best man got us a box for my bachelor party way back. Yeah, that's a great size, that little like Corona shape. I suggest, though, that you definitely try to source it from one of those two guys, because I think you'll get the best bang for your buck that way. And also by contacting, let's say, like Gerard or even Sully at Delay. You tell them, hey, I had this cigar. That's what I'm looking for. Let's say they don't have it, or let's say it's not performing as well as it used to. They'll tell you that. They'll be like, oh, maybe you should try this one instead. All right, so maybe I'm talking too much, but I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the light. So let's see if we can hit it with a little bit of heat and bring it home. Actually, it's much more enjoyable now. Actually, I think this performance of this, even though I had to relight here, the flavor wise has actually improved from the last one. So whereas we were very good at 775 for the first third, I thought the second third diminished a bit. So still very good, but diminished a bit down to 7.5. But now I think it's gone back. Now I think we're at an 8. So very, now we're pushing up against excellent. Michael says, random question, what's the best smelling cigar that you can think of? I have these cigar boxes I picked up from my local spec store, liquor store. It's been over 5 years. Smells incredible. So you mean do you remember the name of the box that you have? If it's just the empty boxes, it could also be that smell that you're having is the cedar itself. Like the cedar has that nice sweet wood aroma to it. So that could be part of it, Our cigars like that, typically, I think it depends on who you are and what you're about. But like when you talk about the smoking of the cigar, like some people enjoy the aroma of cigars, others do not. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to tell you on that one. One thing I will tell you is that what universally is disliked is the smell of the ash afterwards. So you want to get rid of if you ever decide to try it, get rid of the ash right away. Like don't let it fester. Don't let it sit in your ashtray in your room after you're done, like and go to bed or come back an hour later. It won't be very pleasant. Yep, empty boxes. You store my pens. Ecuador and Sumatra Vintage Series 1192 aged 10 years by Rocky Patel. I'm going to guess, based on the fact that it's an empty box, it's probably the smell of the cedar that's used to make the box. That's probably it. The smell of the ash, yeah, definitely not. Actually, it was like today. I was smoking it in here earlier. Had the doors open. Weather was really nice. Breezes flowing through. As I'm sitting here, after I finished it, I was sitting here. I was like, oh, you can smell the ash. Oh, that's just nasty. I had to make sure I threw that away. All right. So Rusty's heading out. Well, just to let you know, Rusty, I would probably buy another one for sure. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you spending time with us. Michael says, yeah, the cedar with some cigars still. I have cedar wood and pencils. Yeah, definitely not the same. So I'm not sure what kind of wood that they're using for the pencils, and what kind of cedar wood you have. The wood that's typically used for cigar boxes is a varietal of cedar that's called Spanish cedar. So it's a softer wood that also has a much milder aroma. Like if you go to let's say like a cedar closet for clothes, like it's got that heavy cedar, that American cedar, that really strong and kind of sharp cedarness to it. The Spanish cedar that they use for cigar boxes is much more mellow. It's meant so that they use this much more mellow because I think the idea is that it's supposed to impart a light sweetness to the cigar, especially if they're sitting in the box over time. Like a lot of cigar factories, they have this room called the escaparate. And the escaparate is a room where they age the cigars. So once they've rolled the cigars, they'll put them into large bundles, typically of 50 cigars to 100 cigar bundles. And they'll put them in these escaparate rooms that are lined with cedar, the Spanish cedar, and typically Spanish cedar shells. And that mellowness of that cedar helps to slowly age and mature the cigar while they're drying out. Because cigars, when they're first rolled, tend to be very wet because they're using a little bit of water to make the leaves more pliable, especially the wrapper. So they need to give that some time to dry out. So typically they'll let them sit for 2 to 3 months. Oh, Brian's heading out too. All right, Brian, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. The cigars actually lasted a lot longer than I was expecting. Now that makes sense. Oh, of course, man. My pleasure. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Very mellow and sweet. Yeah, it's a very mellow, especially when you compare it to American cedar. Much more mellow. And actually, some cigars come with a very thin wrapping of cedar, Spanish cedars. So that helps to give a little bit of a nicer sweetness to the cigar. A little bit of spiciness, not heavy spiciness. A lot of the spices that you're having in cigars will come from the actual tobaccos that they're using. Steven says, throw the ash far away. My little Asian wife turns into a firecracker. Yeah, what you don't want is that unhappy Asian woman. That tends to be very troublesome. Although I do think that, I had to say, Stephen, that having an unhappy Latina woman is worse than an unhappy Asian woman. Ask me how I know. I've had both unhappy with me at different times. Never at the same time. That's just too much work. I don't really understand how guys can do that. Like, forget it's just the logistics and the money and the difficulty of like juggling all that. Like for example, polygamists. I don't understand that. Like, you remember what the movie Big Love, you remember the TV show Big Love, right? I mean, he had 4 houses? Let's say your house, each house costs, let's say you got a cheap house, $150,000 a house. You have 4. You have $600,000 in house. Plus kids, groceries, vehicles. Remembering which person said what and what you promised to each of them. Oh my gosh. Yeah, man, exactly. Amen to that. Latino women are a little bit more volatile. I remember one of my girlfriends who is Latina. One day we're talking. She's like, you know what? If you ever cheat on me, I will kill you. And I was like, I don't doubt it. Somehow, I don't doubt it. Asian woman tells me she's going to kill me for cheating on her. I don't quite believe it. Latina girl tells me she's going to kill me for cheating. Oh, yeah, I believe that. All right. I think we're good to go here. Yes. Unhappy women in general. That's true. Yeah. What do they say? Happy wife, happy life? That's a very truism. I just don't understand why guys want to make their women unhappy, because they do bring a lot of trouble if they're not happy. All right. Where are we now? All right. So let's look over what we're going to do the next couple weeks, since we're getting ready to the end. Next week, we're going to be doing the Stolen Thrones 3 Kingdoms. That should be quite an interesting one. Then after that, March 3rd, when we get far into March, we're going to be doing the Punch Fu Manchu, the one with the long tail. On the 10th, we're going to be doing the Crown Heads Las Calaveras 2021 LC48. Then after that, the Ace Prime, the Sergeant. Then the 24th, the HVC 500th Anniversario Tesoros. And then finally, at the end of the month, on the 31st, we're going to put my favorite cigar to the test, the Romacraft Intemperance BA21 Revenge. You know, that is my favorite cigar, and so we're finally going to put that in and see how it scores and see what we can do. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you spending another week with me here on night and having the cigars. We've had the strictly high-grown European prep Hinotega Nicaragua coffee and the Dapper La Madrina Toro, which has been very good. Oh, I did not give the score for this. What am I thinking? Well, we got the last couple minutes. Let me just punch this in here. 8 plus 7.75 plus 7.75, 7.5, 7.5 plus 8, 9, 8.25 plus 7.75. We've got 79.5, which is not bad. I'm going to put that in here, 79.5. I'm going to show you that. All right, so that's it there. That's our scoring for the week. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you spending the time with us. Come back again next Thursday. We'll see you then.